Hey guys, this is Kevin coming to you again. I got another topic I wanted to share with you. It's definitely a little more serious. I'm talking about suicide and maybe some areas of guidance. These aren't tips. These aren't a for sure thing. This isn't going to, pull someone out or pull a family member, pull you out of pain and tragedy and whatever else you may be going through at this time. If you found your way to this video, it might be for a very serious reason. Something might have really happened. I always recommend seeking your own therapy, your own counseling. Your therapist would know you better and might have a better feel on the situation. I would tailor my take or my opinion on something. If I was advising somebody going through this in my professional sense or in my job, I would know, I'd have a lot more knowledge about the background and the history. So I can't say that what I'm going to tell you is going to be a for sure fix. It never is, or appropriate advice for you. This worked for me, this helped me. Something I'm still processing. I still process with this from time to time. I think I have an okay setup in the way I deal with it from my own family member that I had passed away in early 2011. And maybe I can pass that on and it might be useful to someone else out there. So for me, for the three things that I wrote down that I wanted to emphasize. Number one, there may not be a why. There might not be a reason why your family member completed that. You may not have seen it coming. There may not be a rational reason. The thing is mental health and depression aren't rational. They don't make sense. Depression in your mind, when it's going as clinical depression, it isolates you away from your support system. It keeps you from the things that might be able to pull you out and the healthy habits that might be able to bring you back into a more stable time. It's not a sign of, honestly, depression, I don't think it's a sign of cowardice. It's not a sign of weakness. I don't think suicide is either. I think it's a medical condition that's gone untreated. That's simply kind of where I'm coming from. So recognizing there may not be a why. You may never understand where it's coming from. It's really tempting to try to grasp and pull at every single little thing, trying to just pull everything down to threadbare, trying to figure out what happened, what was the cause, what was the root of this, and really there may not be a reason. And recognizing that's really hard. I know I had other family from my sister and about the suicide that happened in our family. She was really trying to find maybe a reason and trying to grasp it and why or where is this coming from for sure, and just it's not there. And I think that's sometimes one of the most agonizing things. The second thing, kind of try to recognize what you need support-wise, and how you process something. So for me, just knowing myself, two things. I know I can tend to easily isolate too much, but I know that I need alone time. I need time to process. I need time to walk through this. But I also need to make sure I be careful with isolating too much, especially at this time. When this occurred, it wasn't terribly overwhelming in the moment. I kind of saw this coming to an extent. And I just know I needed time to process it alone. I was playing football at that time. I was really involved. It was later in the season, and I had a game. That same week, I went out and played it. That's how I processed. As part of my processing through this was I need to have time alone to process, and I need to continue doing the things I need to do physical fitness wise to maintain. Dropping all those things and isolating away was not going to work for me. Also recognize if you need more support, lean on your therapist. Lean on, maybe it's a religious beliefs, your family, your friends. I had all those there for me. I had people over at my house, my family's house, that same day, supporting us, and that could be a little overwhelming for some people. That's why I needed that alone time. But really lean on your support system. It's tempting to kind of fall within yourself and let that kind of devastation wash over you. Lean on your support system. Also, another thing is while you're using your support system and you're dealing with this, and especially maybe the days after or the short time after, the near future, and this is where I'm saying some things that may be upsetting to people, but lean not only into your support but also into the discomfort. Grief is a process, and it's going to take time, and it may never fully complete. But if you avoid that pain, whether that's through substance use or other kinds of negative self-medication, I can't think of few things that could be worse. As humans, I believe we are engineered to deal with this, to deal with unimaginable loss and difficulty with the supports around us. But we can only go through that process if we lean into that discomfort as well. So that doesn't say it's going to get better in a day or two or a week or a month or maybe even years. I do believe allowing yourself to feel that that discomfort is honestly the only path to getting better. Last thing, again, I want to say this is kind of edgy. I deal with this a lot with the kids when they talk about that I work with at the psych hospital. When they have a friend or a family member, a parent, somebody that took their own life, and they really try, especially the last kid I was working with this week. He was really set on, I could have done something different. I could have changed what I was doing. It was really serious. It was really bad. It was a really bad setup how this happened. A short little story. This kid was in an unhealthy situation. He was using substances with his father, and his father was under the influence with drugs that his kid gave him shortly before he actually went and completed suicide. And so, it was really tough. It was really traumatic. What I continue to say is, at the very, very end of the day, I believe that we all, the quote I have is, we all row our own boat. Doesn't matter, maybe someone's further upstream, behind stream, hits rocks. We can communicate to people. We can try to throw them a rope. We can try to block them off, but at the very end of the day, they're on their own boat. I think personal accountability always holds true, regardless of how extreme the depression may be. And trust me, I know that sometimes, like I just said earlier, depression can kind of rob you of all your rational thinking and beliefs. I think in most circumstances, there's still a limit. There's still a degree of control and choice. In those moments to reach out and ask for help. And so it kind of goes back to, I know it's kind of cliche, but recognizing it's not your fault at the very end of the day. No matter what you could sit here and talk all day long about what you could have done, what you should have done. And for me, this is a really hard part, and this is where I've kind of found comfort in that. I'll explain how, the quote, we all row our own boat. That's coming from personal experience for me, so I'm not trying to, it may not be your reality or your truth, but for me, it was mine, and I'll kind of explain that. So with my experience, I want to keep the video short. So in 2010 or so, my father was living on his own. His wife, my stepmom at that time, moved away, took his daughter, my sister, away. He was alone. He was doing okay for a while, but knowing my father, the isolation and the depression and his general just stubborn as hell attitude crept up into this nasty combination of depression, and it was severe. It was very crippling for him. At this time, I was only, I think, 19 or so, and so as this process wore on, I tried to go out and reach out to him. He would return my phone call, so I just went out to his house one day and knocked on the door, and I had a wonderful conversation with my father. It was great. We joked, we laughed. He was still in a decent spot. I saw him cry for the first time in a long time, and we just talked about life, just talking crap. And I told him I'd be coming out more often. So later, this is in the summer, I left, and I tried to come out a few other times. I tried to call, no answer, no text back. So again, I drove back out there a few months later, and I had to basically break into the house and pull him out of bed. We had a conversation. Maybe I said some things like, I wanted to see the family restored to some level. I wanted to see things at least peaceful in the family. And we got into an argument, and he told me to get the hell out, so I left. I didn't go back out there. I had still no contact with him for a few more months, and at this time, I was, I was pissed off. I was upset. I was maybe not in the best spot myself. I was challenging him, texting him, you need to man up. You need to stop doing this. You need to take care of your kids. You need to take care of your family. You need to be back involved with your family. Still no reply back. A few more months go on, and eventually I get the news that he completed suicide. And it was really devastating on my family. It was really devastating for my sister. And to this day, even though at that moment I was able to compartmentalize, I was able to still maintain and do okay and maintain healthy relationships after that. It's still something that I kind of describe it for me. It's not all at once, but the waves of grief and feeling that loss and that void still creep up on me every now and then. I think the hardest part for me is not only has it impacted me, it has a generational impact that continues on. My son won't ever get to see his grandpa. That's really hard. It's really tough. But going back to, we all row our own boats. I thought of, man, if I would have known, I should have called a crisis team out there. I should have done all these things that I know now I would have done. I just didn't recognize at that time. And so I played that shoulda, coulda, woulda, but didn't game for a very long time thinking of that. But at the very end of the day, it wasn't my fault. And I recognized there was a degree of personal accountability that my dad had with that. So there's my experience. There's some of my takes, some of my areas of guidance. Honestly, there's no easy answer, and what's true and right for me may not be true and right for you. I definitely would advise lean on your support system. Lean on whatever that may be. That's bigger or smaller, lean on that. If you have any questions or tips, put it down there. I'll put some links, the standard links to reach out for help if you're struggling with something like that. I want to end by saying it does get better. It does get better over time if you do the little things that you need to do to take care of yourself, and you don't completely avoid that discomfort and that pain. You will process it. It just naturally. It's the same thing with just showing up, going to the, eating healthier. You're not going to see immediate results, but over time, if you eat healthy, you will have a healthier body. Same thing with your mind. If you take care of it, even no matter how damaged and hurt it is, over time, if you take care of it, it will heal. Maybe not all the way. You might still have those scars, but it will. So I really firmly believe that. So that's all I got, guys. Thank you for sitting with me. Again, put your comments down below and I'll answer.